This is the number one investing strategy because if you don't invest by it, or at least understand it, you're finished. I'm Alberto, and my goal is to find the best investment strategy out there for you and your business. And I do that with backtest data and, of course, a little bit of my own experience. So if you are ready to Jindex, welcome to Jasper's Door. What you're going to see today in this video is the number one investing strategy out there, and is what makes the difference in between the 1% and the 99%. And for 99%, I mean all those people that try to get into investing and barely break evens. Sometimes they lose money, or they will underperform by sticking with ETFs that promise the average returns, but they will underdeliver, and you will see why in a minute. So in this video, you will know what is the number one thing that you need to know about index investing in order to have a chance to become part of the 1%. And unfortunately for most of you, this is not a hack, this is not a tip, this is not a stock that will become a 10-bagger in a day or two. And in fact, if you are chasing after those things, you are a losing investor. And you'll probably always be a losing investor. And the reason for that is because you don't care about the fundamentals. You don't care about what moves the price, the core concept. You're just chasing rainbows. In fact, you are so arrogant that you think a tip, a hack, something that's shallow will outperform an industry of $4 to $5 trillion a day, populated with the smartest people in the world, armed with the best computers, the best AI, and the money to run research that you will never get to see. So if you're after all of this video is not for you. But if you are smarter than that, I will show you how it all works and why you should probably change your way to think about what you're doing in index investing. And I can promise, after I show you, most of the lazy people, we start saying stuff like, oh, this is all a conspiracy, or this is not true, but it's true. It's very true, and it's happening. Not just that, but it's happening every day, and it's happening to your money. And I will prove it. Now, the reason why most of the people don't know about it is not even their fault. Actually, the information out there is scarce, and actually, they don't want you to think this way. While all the data is available and is actually easy to find, the narrative behind it is piloted in order you to think that what they want you to think, and you will see why very soon. To me, the difference was made by a guy called Ben Felix. He has an incredible YouTube channel and is a very research-based, data-driven YouTube channel that drives your decision based on what is rational. And if you don't know this guy, you should probably go out and check him. He's incredible. And after absorbing all the material he gave out on YouTube, I had a few more questions, so I had to go out and do some deeper study. And this study took a few years and a lot of data crunching. And now I know a thing or two that probably most of the people won't ever know in their lives. So let me ask you a question. What is the function of an ETF? And it's not, trust me, it's not investing in an index or it's not driving returns. In fact, a better question would be, what drives the returns of an ETF? And it's not you, that's for sure, especially if you keep buying the most popular ones. It is not the market. The market gives obviously a general direction, but there's ETFs that do better than others, just like there's investors that do better than others. So it's not the market. And the problem with all of this is that there is an us versus them situation that nobody talks about. So the number one strategy in investing, if you are an index investor, is know your enemy. There's an enemy out there and nobody knows about it. Nobody talks about it. And the information is scarce, and that's made on purpose. So if you're wondering what is our enemy and what we are standing up against, that's a great question. And let me tell you, it's what I call the cash cartel. The cash cartel is an ecosystem of ETF and fund issuing firms that work together with investment banks to sell you their products. And they are succeeding at this because these people are stacking up a lot of money. And they're stacking up a lot of money without having your best interest at heart. And you will see why today. Now, they convinced everyone, and this is why 99% of people don't know this, that convinced the planet that the ETFs are the best way to invest. The problem is the ETFs are built arbitrarily. Okay, so someone decides what's in there, right? Someone decides according to what they need, what goes into an ETF. For example, the S&P 500, all right? The S&P 500 is very famous. Everyone thinks is the best thing in the world, but why not global stocks instead of just American? Why not cheap stocks? I mean, we know that small caps and we know that value are very good for your investment portfolio. The returns are much higher. And the reason for all of that is that someone thought it would be convenient to build it this way. And you will see why very soon. And on top of it, if you think ETF, what do you think? The first thing that comes to mind, and this is not something you thought, I can promise you, something you've been told. That's much different. When you think ETF, what do you think? You think it's cheap? Yeah? You think it's diversified? It's a factor investing? Well, let me tell you, those are lies. And I'm about to show you the proof of it. Because if you want to beat this game, you need to start thinking by yourself. Or at least you need to start coming up with a solution that is not what everyone else is doing. You need to stay under the radar. You see, it doesn't take a genius to outperform the market. You just need to open your eyes. At the beginning of the movie, The Big Short, they said they just looked. They just look at the evidence. And I am presenting you today with the evidence so you can start thinking on your own and I will make you a weapon. Let's get into it. How the ETFs suck your money for the cash cartel. First of all, what do they care about? What is they are actually after? So this is something you can download from the BlackRock website. You can download a spreadsheet like this with a summary of what they invest in and what kind of products they have in their hands right now. What I'd like to move your attention onto is the asset under management on the right side, that if you sum them up all together, makes this number, I guess, that I didn't know how to pronounce. So I went out and it turns out to be 5 trillions, 114 billions and $42 million, which is more than Greece, Spain's and Italy's GDP altogether. So here's a life hack for you. If you want to make money, just sell ETF. Now, that is what they have under management. And these little words they put there is very fancy ways to say how much we're charging you. And the average of those charges is 0.22%, which makes that amount of money their actual revenue. So this 11 billions is what they make in revenue from having your money under management. Now the question is, if you stay invested, they get $11 billion every year. Do you think they care about your returns? Or let me change the question. Do you think they care if you get money, or do you think they care if you stay? Because I got the feeling they only care to keep you there long enough for them to make more money. So first thing you need to be very clear of, the banks and the cash cartel, they are selling machines. They just want you to buy their products and nothing else. But these products are not designed to make you money. They're designed to keep you there. Because what they really after is the fees they make from you. And they make money no matter what. They don't have to provide any good return for you. The fees is what they after. And by the way, the fees compound too. So if they keep you there long enough, eventually the market will do its thing. And this is the result. You will get to pay more fees if you keep the money invested for longer. So all they want is to keep you there as long as possible. I want you to be extremely clear on this. The ETFs are not there to make you good returns. And I show you why with a little story. Let me use an analogy. We started early on as humanity and we walked about. And then we got smarter, we use our brain better, so we start using other animals to move. And that was our transportation system. Later on, smarter again, and we start building cars so we can move on the ground. And it was amazing. We felt extremely smart, and everyone was celebrating it, and it was the American dream. But did we stop there? Did we stop evolving just because we did fix a problem? No, we didn't. And nowadays, we got all the best transportation system that technology can give us. And we can be extremely luxurious about it, and we can be everywhere in the world in 24 hours. And this is pretty cool. In finance, at the beginning, it was chaos. At the beginning, everyone was by itself. And when you go out trying to invest, it was confusing. You didn't really have information. Warren Buffett had to go to the library to read the newspaper in order to understand what was going on with a company and make decision out of it. So it was daunting, and the information was scattered. You didn't really know what to do. So eventually, what happens in 1933, with the change of legislation, we started seeing the money managers. And these people were the worst thing that ever happened to finance. They were greedy. They would get all the fees, like 2 to 5% fees for the luxury of giving them your money and having them lost, or at least having them invested in the stock market like you would do. But they had the privilege to do that because they sold the position, they sold themselves as expert, and you didn't want to do the work yourself. So they went on and collected billions of dollars in order to invest. And it took us 40 years, up to the 1970s, to finally get the S&P 500, which was the first index, the first ETF that people could actually invest in. And at the time, just like Henry Ford and his car, at the time, it was an incredible product, revolutionary, legendary. It made a switch that changed the way we think about finance. And now everyone is investing in it, and it's famous. But the problem is that after that, nothing changed. We're using a product that 50 years ago was cool, and it looked cool because in comparison with the active manager was amazing, but honestly speaking, it sucks. And in fact, this entire video is about to tell you why ETF investing sucks, and this entire channel, please subscribe, is all about making you the best investor you can be by yourself, thinking with your own head, thinking with the data that we already have, in order to beat whatever ETF is out there. Because trust me, these people don't give a fuck about you, don't give a fuck about your problem, what you are, who you are, and where you want to go with the money you're investing. They just making their fees, they happy about it, and they go home. And so much so, I'm about to show you, they will sell you anything to get your money, anything. Welcome to K-pop ETF. This is an ETF that is based on, this is exactly what it looks like, is an ETF that is based on Korean pop. Korean pop. Do you think that investing in Korean people jumping up and down the stage is a good investing strategy? I don't think so. But there's an ETF that collects the money for the people that are emotionally invested with them, and that are obviously trying to support them, I guess, but in the meantime, they have no financial background because this is not an investing strategy. This is just hype. They're selling hype to people. If you don't believe me, well, the investing strategy itself didn't work out very well for them. Let's see another example. Deadlift Index. This is an entirely different monster. This is an ETF built on companies of which the CEO goes to the gym. Let me repeat that. The CEO of the company within this ETF goes to the gym and do deadlifts. I mean, I don't even know how to comment this. They seem to be doing very well, but I will never trust a fund or an ETF that makes me pay in order to see the historical returns. This is sad already. This is really sad already. My favorite, meme ETFs. Now, this makes me smile. Meme stocks are all over the place. Everyone get excited. But the sad news about this is they selling hype to people. Just because a meme became famous, a meme stock became famous, your GameStop or whatever Tesla you got in your mind right now, these things are news cycles that are gonna get hyped to the point where people start buying it, and then they will collapse. And this ETF did the same. These people will sell you anything to get your fees. If you don't believe me, a few years ago, and this is actually an ETF that is still active, has $78 million under management. Luckily, it was a lot more, and luckily people started investing. ARK Invest, remember the days where 3D printing was hyped like the next new thing? It was a similar time where weed was the next new thing, and everyone was excited and started investing in it. And they did too. They create a 3D printing ETF, apparently, and they start raising money as always. And if you did invest in it, you would have a 1% return per year. You wouldn't keep up with inflation. But that stands to demonstrate they would sell anything because they want your money invested so they can get their fees. They don't give a flying crap about your returns. And another example, this is more serious now because value and momentum both exist in form of ETF. If you're not new to the channel, you know that we already dived into both of them, research in hand and data in hand, and we found out that only one of them is actually driving amazing returns. The other one is not at all, but they don't tell you that. They just sell you the ETFs because that's what you think is going right now. And they sell it to you. ETF are made for collecting fees. And this is going to be controversial, but ESG is not a factor when it comes to investing. If your idea of investing is putting money somewhere in order to get a return, well, ESG does not exist. It does not even blip on the radar. And that's because they're leveraging your being a good person, your feeling of I want to help in this world, your feeling of I want to be relevant and I want to have an impact, and I'm going to invest in those companies that are making something different in order to save our beautiful planet. But that is not an investing strategy. They will absorb your money because you're a good person and don't give a flying fuck about the planet. And by the way, your returns are meant to underperform the rest of the market because the ESG is not an investing factor. They just build it because they knew people like you and me would buy it. So this channel is all about this. You can invest in your own in your own index for free. You can build your own index for free. We call it a Jindex. It's a DIY investable index. You don't have to pay anyone for doing this. Just research at hand. You build your own thing, and most of anything you don't have to need an investment bank or anyone who can build or anyone that sell you products in order to invest. And if you stick around on this channel, you're going to learn how to do it by yourself. So back to why ETFs suck your money. They will sell you anything to make money. Be very clear for that because, again, fees is what you want. Now, let's talk about volatility and diversification because it looks to be a very solid point. Every time an ETF comes up, everyone says it's diversified and all of that crap. The problem is that the data says the opposite of that. In fact, they are massively over-diversified. And I'll tell you what I mean. This is an experiment I run, and you can see different size portfolio built randomly. And what you see, the yellow line is actual volatility over the number of stocks that you will find in that portfolio. And of course, if you have less than 10, you have very high volatility because stocks are like that. When you get over 20, the volatility won't get any better by buying new stocks. And in fact, if you test this with the most volatile stocks, which are small caps, you'll see that 40 is the place where the volatility will stop decreasing even if you keep diversifying your portfolio. So anything above 40, you are diversifying your portfolio, you are diluting your exposure to a factor. And you will see what I mean in a second. By the way, this is data that is not just from me, other people. This is the CFA Institute, so it doesn't get any better than that in terms of authority. Same results. They actually found out that 20 is a good number. Investopedia goes as far as saying that reduction of risk is not the same as increasing diversification, which there's no better way to spell it, I guess. And again, ResearchGate has the same returns. So why, I wonder, if 20 to 40 is where you want to be in order to diversify away, why do they sell ETFs with thousands of stocks? You don't need that. This is the S&P 500. 500 stocks. This is the most famous, most invested index in the world. 500 stocks. That's 460 more than you need. Now that you know that most of the stocks under the hood are not even necessary to diversify your way, let me talk about what happens when you have that many stocks in your portfolio. So imagine this is your universe. This is the stocks that you can buy out there. You can go out and buy any stocks. Of course, there's more stocks existing in the world, but realistically that you can access and that you can have good data about, there's not many. Let's say we can have 4,000 stocks that have reliable data when you invest in it. Now, we run a few studies on this channel. We will run more studies after this. But what is clear is that if you want to be exposed to a factor and actually get great results, you only have a very small percentage of stocks that will show that factor, will present and expose you to that factor. Even going to the second decile, which still have in this chart, still have great returns above 15%, will cut your returns down 10% from the first decile, right? We did that with small cap, we did that with values. This is consistent. If you have a good factor to invest in, it could be values, could be profitability, it could be investment and all of that. You need to be exposed to the very top 10% in order to get great results. And the moment I showed this online, they were like, oh, you found out what a factor is. Well, let me show you. This is where you want to invest. The 380 stocks that you can invest in if you want to keep it in the top 10%. And by the way, you still want to get in those 330 stocks and find out which one have bad balance sheets. They don't have quality, or maybe they're not making money, or they're losing money. So you want to filter out even more, and probably you're going to end up with 100 good stocks to invest in. So why are we investing in something with 1,300 stocks? And by the way, this is sold as small cap, but companies stops to be small cap about around $2 billion and then becomes medium cap. This small cap ETF, it's so big that the median is 8.5 billion. That's 4 times what we consider small cap. And by the way, median means that 50% of the stocks are higher than $8 billion. They are selling you crap. They are selling you way too many stocks, and they are selling you something that they say is small cap, but they're lying in your face. They're selling you everything but. Again, small cap, 1,700 stocks. And by the way, the reason is that they have too much money in it. They are pushing in it because they make fees out of it. They profit from the fees, so they don't care how much they push into it, even if they're giving you a very stupid portfolio. Again, 2,000. So eventually what you get, you want to be exposed to the top 10%, but what you actually get is stocks from any decile pretty much. They sell you a factor, but it's just nothing. And this is something I want you to be absolutely clear about. They are diversifying your profit away. In order to sell more, in order to make it bigger so they can get more money, they diversify away your returns. So they don't just sell you anything, even the crap thing, even the good thing, the small cap, the the value, the good factors, they diversified away because they can make more money if they sell it to more people, even if they will diversify your returns. And of course, your factor exposure will be absolutely crap. Is this convincing enough? Because wait, there's more. Let's talk about the madness. This is real madness. So far is greedy and absolutely shocking, but now the madness of market cap weighted. Now, market cap weighting is something that most of the indexes have, including your S&P 500, your Russell 2000, or even in Europe we do that. And what it is simply the size of a company within an index. The amount of stocks that you will have within an index is directly proportional to the size of the company itself. So that's why you get all the Magnificent Seven, taking out the S&P 500 for like 30% of it. And it works like this. We created a Jindex, and in this Jindex we have 4 companies. They all have the price of $1, and the only difference we got is the number of shares, where DD is the biggest with 50,000 shares published, and therefore their market capitalization is 50,000. Because it's the biggest, and because he has 50% of the total market capitalization of these 4, the company DD will take out 50% of the portfolio. Please make sure to notice that the other companies are 10% each, and then CC will have 30% of the total value of the index. Now, next day, the market opens, the day goes by, and at the end of the day, we got company AA and BB having no change to the price. Company CC dropped 50%, and company DD grew. What an incredible company. It grew to 100% more. So it's $2 now, right? And that changes the composition of that index, because now company DD is much, much bigger, and it takes 74% of the entire index. While company CC, that used to be 30% up to yesterday, now is 11%. Notice how company AA and BB got shrinked, even if they didn't change in price. Okay? Now, what happens behind the curtains? This is company CC. After the first day, it shrunk, and now it is 11%. And the price, remember, the price went from 1 to 0.5, where the final market capitalization allowed this company CC, to be only 11% within our beautiful Jindex we created. So at the end of the day, when it's time to rebalance, the index needs to sell the shares of company CC in order to reflect the 11% size of the company. And it needs to sell these shares at the new price, the lower price of 0.5%. So we're selling low. If it goes down, you sell. Okay? This is rebalancing, people. This is something that goes on with your S&P 500, your Nasdaq, everything you know. This happens. Let's go to another example. Company DD, they went from 50% to 74%. Incredible. If you are invested, you're very happy. The problem is that within the index, the company went from price 1 to price $2, and from 50% market cap to 74% market cap, pushing the index to buy at the end of the day for the new price of 2 up to 74% weight. And therefore, the company DD is bought at a higher price. So every day, every index you know is rebalancing. Every ETF you get out there is rebalancing and buying high and selling low by default. This is what drives me crazy. All of these indexes that you see in front of you, which are representing the biggest indices in the world, and is an arbitrary choice. They created the indices to buy high and sell low in order to be rebalanced every day. This is not something you need to do. This is something they choose to do. And the reason why is commissions and fee, because when they trade actually with your money, guess who's paying the commissions for trading? Guess who's paying every day in and out of the market that you don't even get to see, that is not even shown in the prospect that you read online. This is hidden behind the curtains. And these beautiful people at Dimensional, this, by the way, is a company that is actually producing ETFs for themselves. They're selling ETFs they produce. These beautiful people, and we're talking about 2 CFAs and 1 PhD, so I'm guessing they're very smart people and very well prepared to talk about this. If you read this study they create, they conclude that 4% of the money is wasted in rebalancing. 4% of your annual return. That's half of what the S&P 500 returns you annually. 4%. This is why on this channel you will know you can rebalance your own index. You create your own index and you rebalance it every 6 months and automatically outperform. You create your own index, you put the S&P 500 companies in there. I don't know why you would do this. This is actually against any factor investing, but if you do that and rebalance every 6 months, you will automatically outperform. They don't give a fuck about your return. They just want your money. They just want you to invest, and they will get your fees out of it. Now, question is, if all I'm saying is true, wouldn't the ETFs return crappy things? For example, if you get the S&P 500, right, and everyone knows, and be aware of the quotes, so everyone knows that the S&P 500 is a good investment. It's going up so much. Oh my God, look at the history. Like, it's 10% over the whatever amount of years you want to take in consideration in order to make it 10%. So if you think about the S&P 500, it's built on 500 stocks, which is way too over-diversified. It's all bill cap, which is the wrong factor to invest in. And also it rebalances every day. So it should be stupid to invest in it, right? So again, it's over-diversified. It's this wrong factor. It's expensive daily rebalance happening all the time in the background. So you should be producing sub-per return. So why is it so good? And my question for you is it good? Like, we've been told it's good because there's nothing else that beats it, but we've been told it's good, but is it? Because it's an experiment. You can replicate it. I want you to make sure you understand this is something you can replicate at home. There's a code, there's a link in the description. It's going to be using real market data provided by Morningstar. Again, code in the description. You don't even have to know how to code. It's just copy, paste, and click play. And this experiment does this. The gray lines represent randomly selected Jindexes. A Jindex, again, is an index you build by yourself according to your own rules. And it works like this. The gray lines represent random Jindexes and represent actual experiments. So the Jindex is created with random stocks. Out of those 4,000, you can select 50, and you will refresh that Jindex every 6 months. That's it. No more thinking, nothing more than that. Every 6 months, you refresh, get by random, and do it again. And the yellow line represents the average of all of those experiments, right? The yellow represents the average of the experiments. Now think. This is starting in the year 2000. This is 1st of January. And goes up to 2025, present day. Where is the S&P 500 going to land in this chart? Is this going to be above, below, similar? Think about it, and I'm going to give you 3 seconds, and then I'll show you the answer. 3, 2, 1. That is the S&P 500. For all the reasons you saw in this video, the S&P 500 is massively underperforming random stocks. Again, this is an experiment you can do at home, and I believe it's terrifying, but it's telling a lot about what you should do with your money. You should not trust these people because they don't give a flying fuck about your returns. They will just give you crappy returns. They just suck your money. But it's not all bad. There's also one thing that is good for you, and they made it easy for you to buy. Like, banks never do anything easy, and this one thing is super easy to do. I guess why that is. So this is the most important part. What you can do about it. Well, the first thing is you need to understand that most of the things are about what you shouldn't do about. And this is a Charlie Munger quote that it says, "It's remarkable how much long-term advantage people like us," meaning him and Uncle Warren, "have gotten by trying to be consistently not stupid instead of trying to be very intelligent." And my friend, the data is out there. You don't need to be stupid. You don't need to follow the crowd. It's just don't be stupid. And in order not to be stupid, what you can do is just don't be yet another sucker. Be under the radar. Do your own thing. Do your own thing and stop using the tools that everyone else is doing. Because if you hang out where everyone else is, you will be crushed by fees. It's death by fees. And most importantly, don't follow the hypes or the trends. If they say, "Oh, this is amazing," they're probably selling you stuff. What you can do is this. So you need to seek out new ways to invest. So, which is not saying you need to stop picking. Index investing works phenomenally. Factor investing works phenomenally, but you need to find a way to do it by yourself. Okay. And you can do it by making your own index. Okay. There are hundreds of factors, hundreds out there. Most of them are crap, but there are hundreds of factors that you can use to build your own index. And I'm going to give you a hint. Profitability works, investment works, small cap works, value works. Okay. But there are hundreds of factors you can use in order to make your portfolio return higher or have less volatility. And you can use them all if you think with your head. And on top of it, you must, and follow me on this, you must get your investing psychology figured out. If you don't invest correctly with your brain and your heart at peace, you will fuck up and you will lose money. And you will follow the hype because you're fearing to miss out. You're fearing that someone else will make more money than you. So have a plan and stick with it, right? And you're thinking, "Oh, but this is not very easy. This is not something that I can just go and use and copy paste into my portfolio." Well, welcome. If you're still thinking like that, you're thinking short term, you're still thinking immediate reward, and you will never be a good investor. On the good news, on this channel, we are showing everyone a new way to invest. We are showing you to make your own index. We're showing you how to do that, how to optimize it, and to make a lot of money out of it. There are hundreds of factors, and I know that because I've been testing them all. And if you stick on this channel, you're going to see test after test after test what works and what doesn't. My investing psychology is well figured out, and I do have a great plan. And you will have it too. You will learn all of this too if you stick with Jasper's Law. Stick with us, be part of the group, follow the community, follow the channel, comment under this. We can make this. This is the next step after the first ETF came out back in the days. This is what will make the difference in finance, and you're going to be part of it, but need to stick with us. This is Jasper's Law.